A Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder, Chapter 14, Part 1. When Hannah woke up the next morning, she was in foul mood. She was used to getting along without the recommended 8 hours of sleep, but she'd spent a very restless night, and some of her dreams had been disturbing. Ron's killer had chased her in a yellow Cadillac bearing a striking resemblance to the one Bernice drove. Her final nightmare hadn't been so bad. She dreamed that she was being held down and tickled by a furry monster. By now, Hannah knew what that dream meant. Moish had crawled onto her pillow. She had managed to rouse herself enough to shove him over, and the rest of the night had been relatively peaceful. There was a list on the pad of notepaper she kept on her night table, and Hannah switched on the light to read it. The words "fluffy dreams" were written at the top, and they were in her writing. She must have been dreaming about cookies again. Oh yes, Hannah began to smile. She remembered the dream now. She'd been catering a reception at the White House, and the president, a young Abe Lincoln, had raved about her cookies. His wife, Barbara Bush, had asked for the recipe, and she'd written it out right there in the Oval Office. Hannah laughed out loud. Abe Lincoln and Barbara Bush. She guessed she shouldn't be surprised. It had been a dream after all. But she had written down the recipe. Perhaps her unconscious had come up with something delicious. The words were written in an untidy scrawl. Obviously, she hadn't bothered to turn on the light. Hannah made out the word butter, and a bit further down, sugar. Between the two words was a scrawl that looked like pooches. It must be peaches, and the peach cookies were an intriguing concept. It must be peaches, and peach cookies were an intriguing concept. She also made out marshes for marshmallows and cocoa, which could be either cocoa or coconut. Perhaps she'd experiment a bit with the ingredients and see what she could make. Hannah carried the notebook out to the kitchen and poured herself a fragrant cup of coffee. After several bracing sips, she noticed that there was another line scrawled at the bottom of the recipe. It said, D. Ask not with. There was a plaintive yowl from the direction of the food bowl, and Hannah got up to dump in the kitty crunches. As she filled Moish's water bowl with filtered water, she thought about that last cryptic note. The D was for Danielle. Hannah was almost certain of that. But what was ask not with? It came to her in a flash of brilliant insight. Her mind had been working overtime last night. She'd wanted to remind herself to ask Danielle if there had been any time during their night and early morning together that Ron had gone somewhere without Danielle. Hannah set Moish's water bowl down on his Garfield rubber mat and went back to the table to finish her coffee. If yesterday and the day before were any indication, today would be hectic. She reached for the notepad, turned to a fresh page, and wrote down a list of things to do. The first item Hannah wrote was sparklets. She had to call to find out what time Danielle's water had been delivered on Wednesday morning. If what Danielle had told her was true, Danielle was in the clear. Hannah made another note. Herb Lisa. She wanted to corner Herb Beesman on her way to work and convince him to call Lisa to invite her to the Woodleys' party. It was late notice, but Hannah was almost sure that Lisa would accept. When she'd asked last night, Lisa had told her that she'd received an invitation to the Woodleys' party, but that she wasn't planning to go. It wasn't because of her father. One of the neighbors had volunteered to sit with him. But Lisa really didn't want to attend the biggest party of the year by herself. She hadn't wanted to tag along with Hannah and Norman either, and that was when Hannah decided to talk to Herb into asking Lisa. The third item on her list was Lisa, dress. Hannah planned to take Lisa to Beaumont during their slow time between 11 and 12. She'd put a sign on the door, and if anyone was that desperate for a cookie, they would come next door to get her. The next line on Hannah's list said, Clue Claire. She'd dash over this morning while Lisa was baking to tell Claire that the dress Lisa chose should be on sale for $60. She'd make up the difference and they could settle up later when Lisa wasn't around. Moish gave another yowl, and Hannah noticed that his food bowl was empty again. Her cat was a regular feline garbage disposal, but he didn't seem to be gaining any weight. Perhaps he did kitty aerobics when she wasn't home. "That looks lovely on you," Claire announced as Lisa walked out of the dressing room, wearing a wine-red dress. "What do you think, Hannah?" Hannah laughed. "You're asking me? You should know better, Claire. How many times have you wanted to tell me that all my taste is in my mouth?" "Too many times." Claire laughed lightly, and then she turned to Lisa. "What do you think, Lisa?" "I'm not sure. I really like this one, but the emerald green is such a wonderful color." "Too bad they're not two furs." Hannah winked at Claire, hoping that she'd take the hint. It was unlikely. Beaumont was a boutique, and Claire thought of herself as a fashion consultant, several cuts above an owner or a sales lady. Hannah doubted that her high-fashion neighbor had ever considered giving a 2-for-1 sale. "It's strange that you should mention it, Hannah." Claire surprised Hannah by taking the hint immediately. "As it happens, I just marked these 2 particular dresses down. The wine satin sheath has a slight imperfection in the bodice, and the button on the back of the green silk doesn't quite match the color of the dress." Lisa's eyes opened wide. "I didn't even notice." "Perhaps not, but I did, and I refuse to let my customers pay full price for something that isn't absolutely perfect." "How much are they now?" Lisa asked. Hannah held her breath. If Claire mentioned a price that was too low, Lisa would suspect that they were in cahoots. "They're both on sale for $60. That's 2/3 off the regular price. Believe me, Lisa, you'll be doing me a favor if you take them off my hands. Returning things to my supply is a nightmare." "Then I'll take both." Lisa was so excited her voice squeaked. "There's only one condition." Claire looked very serious. "You have to promise that you won't tell anyone else how much they cost. If the other women find out that you paid only $60 for a Beaumont dress, they'll all ask for special prices." "I won't tell anyone. Even if I did, they'd never believe me." "Thank you, Claire. This is really my lucky day.